welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into an epic, prehistoric battle for the title of the absolute largest land mammal to ever live. We're going to piece together a massive, and I mean literally massive mystery that spans millions of years. We're talking about an animal so gigantic, it honestly challenges our very understanding of biology. Let's get into it.
So what was the largest land mammal to ever walk the Earth? Well, for decades, science confidently gave us one answer. But as we'll see, chance discoveries dating all the way back to the 1800s in India have completely rewritten the heavyweight record books. They've introduced us to an absolute titan.
Here's how we'll break it all down today. First, the heavyweight mammal debate, then anatomy of a titan. Next, lineage and living relatives. After that, fueling a 19-ton beast, followed by Enter the Human Hunters, and finally, Fall of the Giants.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the heavyweight mammal debate.
So, let's start with the ultimate clash of the titans. We've got a long-reigning champion going up against a mysterious challenger known as Paleoloxodon namadicus. Now, for the longest time, a giant hornless rhino from the Eocene epoch named Paraceratherium held the undisputed crown. But recent studies, we're talking as recently as 2023, have officially dethroned the rhino. While the rhino's weight is now estimated to sit somewhere between 11 and 17 tons, our giant elephant, Paleoloxodon namadicus, scales up to an astonishing 19 to 22 tons. It officially outclasses the old champion by several tons. It's a real game changer.
To put that staggering 19-ton mass into perspective, just think about the number 300. This single creature weighed 300 times more than you or me. It completely shatters our previous concepts of mammalian limits. Honestly, it's almost hard to even picture an animal of this sheer volume actually walking the Earth.
Moving right along to Section 2, anatomy of a titan.
You know, this beast wasn't just heavy, it was structurally terrifying. The crucial takeaway here is that Namadicus wasn't just 3 times heavier than today's average African bush elephant, which, by the way, tops out around 11 tons at its absolute max. No, at 17.1 feet tall at the shoulder, this elephant was taller than nearly every terrestrial predator to ever exist. Yes, that includes standing taller than the Spinosaurus and even the mighty T-Rex. It was even rivaling those famous long-necked sauropod dinosaurs like the Diplodocus. Just wild.
And the fossil record backs this up in a truly spectacular way. Imagine stumbling upon a single leg bone that absolutely dwarfs the femur of a triceratops. Well, that's exactly what happened when the British East India Company first located these bones in the 1830s near the Godavari River. That initial mind-blowing discovery of a massive leg bone is what kicked off this whole giant obsession in the first place.
And hey, it wasn't just the legs that were gigantic. 20. That is the number of feet long its nearly straight ivory tusks could reach. Think about that for a second. Tusks longer than the animal was tall. And here's a crazy fact for you. Each one of those tusks weighed more than a fully grown jaguar. To even support this, it had a specially adapted, super dense skull with large crests anchoring incredibly thick muscles. All that just so it could lift its head while carrying around those massive weapons.
That brings us to Section 3, lineage and living relatives. The epic global journey of this species spanned hundreds of thousands of years. About 800,000 years ago, their massive ancestors Paleoloxodon rechi literally marched out of Africa. By 700,000 years ago, right in the Pleistocene, Chemconaticus evolved in Eurasia. They thrived and expanded into areas like India, Japan, and southern China, eventually coexisting with modern humans for about 30,000 years, right down to their final doomed decades between 50,000 and 25,000 years ago. Now, you'd probably assume its closest modern relative is the African bush elephant, right? I mean, it's today's largest land animal. But in a fascinating twist of genetics revealed by mitochondrial DNA analysis, its closest living relative is actually the much smaller African forest elephant. It's pretty amazing how evolution preserves these ancient genetic ties in such unexpected ways. Let's check out Section 4, fueling a 19-ton beast. Let's be real. You can't maintain a 19-ton body on air and sunshine alone. A single Namadimachus required a jaw-dropping 150,000 calories every single day just to sustain its massive size and survive. To hit that massive caloric goal, which, by the way, is enough daily energy to easily feed more than 60 adult human beings, it was a highly specialized grazer.
Thanks to that uniquely dense, lowered skull morphology we talked about, it didn't have to strain to reach the ground. It likely spent up to 16 hours a day acting as a giant biological vacuum cleaner, simply hovering over the open plains and continuously feeding on C4 grasses.
This leads us right into Section 5, enter the human hunter.
Despite being a literal walking fortress, our champion soon met the ultimate threat. In its environment, a fully grown Pneumaticus adult was practically invincible against saber-toothed cats, wolves, or even the supersized crocodilian Ramphosuchus. But it had a massive target on its back when a new predator entered the chat. Intelligent, projectile-wielding primates. Yeah, us.
You see, humans coexisted with these titans for roughly 30,000 years, and we know from clearly butchered fossil remains of its sister species, like Antiquus and Reci, that human hunters were highly adept at taking down extreme megafauna. It's believed that early humans relied heavily on projectile weapons to do this, requiring some seriously advanced tactics to overcome the elephant's immense intelligence and deeply complex herd protections. It was no small feat.
And finally, Section 6, Fall of the Giants.
The true king didn't fall to a single blow. It went extinct between 50,000 and 25,000 years ago due to a really deadly combination of factors. First, a severe climate cooling trend, leading up to the last glacial maximum, destroyed its massive food supply of C4 grasses. Then, you pair that immense habitat loss with the simultaneous introduction of advanced human hunting tactics, and it was simply too much. They collapsed alongside other amazing megafauna, like the prehistoric hippo and the stegodon.
As the source material perfectly puts it, the only predator that might have actually been a real threat to these guys was a primate, and you only need a mirror to see who I'm talking about. It really makes you reflect on our profound impact on the natural world, knowing that we played a leading role in erasing the absolute largest mammal in Earth's history. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. With its closest genetic relative being the modern African forest elephant, as long as those genes survive deep in the African forests, is it possible the blueprint for the next 20-ton titan is just waiting for its moment to rise again? It's pretty wild to think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the true heavyweight champion of the world, and keep staying curious.